The Tao Te return, and this time, from every corner of the earth, rests the last defense of humanity.
Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
The Great Wall is a cinematic undertaking that attempts to merge Eastern and Western storytelling in a visually grandiose spectacle, directed by the acclaimed Chinese filmmaker Zhang Yimou. Released in 2016, it represents a landmark effort in international co-productions, blending Hollywood star power with Chinese historical mythology and landscapes. The story takes place in an imaginative retelling of ancient China, centered on the legendary Great Wall, reinterpreted not merely as a fortification but as a bastion against monstrous creatures known as the Tao Ti. The film's central premise juxtaposes the familiar trope of Western adventurers with a rich tapestry of Chinese martial tradition and mythical narrative, creating a cross-cultural cinematic experience that is as ambitious as it is visually arresting. At the forefront of this narrative is Matt Damon, portraying William Guerin, a European mercenary whose arrival in China sets off a series of events that entwine him with the fate of the nation's elite defenders. Alongside him, characters such as Commander Lin Mei, played by Jing Tian, and Pero Tovar, portrayed by Pedro Pascal, navigate a story that blends personal motivations with the collective duty of the Nameless Order, an ancient, secretive force responsible for defending the wall and, by extension, humanity itself. The plot intricately weaves themes of duty, honor, sacrifice, and cross-cultural interaction, as Guerin and Tovar, initially outsiders, become embroiled in the defense against the Tao Ti, who arrive in waves to devastate the land. The creatures themselves are portrayed as alien yet mythically resonant, with a hierarchy culminating in the formidable Tao Ti Queen. The narrative constructs tension through escalating battles, strategic deployment of ancient weaponry, and the interplay between human ingenuity and mythical force. Zhang Yimou's direction emphasizes choreography, spectacle, and color, drawing from his experience in visually stylized martial arts films. The wall is depicted not only as a military structure but as a symbol of human resilience, a line between civilization and chaos, where every battlement becomes a stage for heroism, strategy, and self-sacrifice. The film's production represents a fusion of Eastern and Western cinematic practices. Legendary Pictures and Universal Pictures co-produced the film alongside China Film Group, facilitating a budget of approximately $150 million. Filming predominantly occurred in China, utilizing expansive desert landscapes and the Great Wall itself, with extensive set constructions to accommodate the epic scale of the imagined battle scenes. Cinematography, led by Zhao Xiaoding, emphasizes sweeping vistas, dynamic combat sequences, and intricate details of costume and weaponry, merging historical elements with fantastical enhancements. The use of visual effects, coordinated by Weta Digital, brings to life the Tao Ti in a manner that balances horror, otherworldly aesthetics, and kinetic action, making them central to the film's tension and spectacle. Critically, the film received mixed reviews. While many lauded the visual spectacle, choreography, and set design, critiques frequently targeted the narrative structure, character development, and dialogue. Some criticism centered on perceived cultural issues, particularly the prominence of a Western lead in a Chinese-centric story, which sparked debate over representation and the white savior trope in global cinema. Despite these critiques, the performances of Jing Tian and Andy Lau, alongside the ensemble cast, were noted for grounding the fantastical narrative in human emotion and relational dynamics. Financially, the film grossed approximately $334.9 million worldwide, yet the combination of production and marketing costs led analysts to suggest that the film may not have achieved profitability proportional to its investment, highlighting the challenges inherent in such ambitious cross-cultural productions. The cast contributes significantly to the film's narrative and thematic depth. Matt Damon's William Guerin is characterized by his initial pragmatism and self-interest, which gradually evolves into alignment with the Nameless Order's mission. Jing Tian's Lin Mei embodies disciplined leadership, courage, and the moral compass of the story, bridging the human and fantastical elements of the plot. Pedro Pascal's Pero Tovar serves as both foil and partner to Guerin, his wit and resourcefulness providing narrative contrast to the strict militaristic ethos of the Order. Willem Dafoe as Sir Ballard introduces historical continuity and exposition, portraying a foreigner who has already integrated into Chinese culture, offering both guidance and context for the protagonist's journey. Andy Lau's strategist Wang and Zhang Hanyu's General Shao represent the institutional memory and wisdom of the Nameless Order, their presence reinforcing the themes of duty, mentorship, and sacrifice. Thematic exploration in the Great Wall extends beyond spectacle. At its core, the narrative interrogates the notion of collective versus individual heroism, examining how personal ambition and courage intersect with societal responsibilities. The Tao Te serve as allegorical representations of existential threats, embodying chaos, destruction, and the necessity for unity in the face of overwhelming adversity. By positioning Western protagonists within a deeply Chinese historical and mythical framework, the film simultaneously challenges and reinforces notions of cultural exchange, adaptation, and understanding, inviting audiences to consider the interplay between outsider perspective and indigenous knowledge. While The Great Wall 2 has circulated in fan speculation and online concept trailers, no official production has been confirmed. Rumors suggest potential returns of Matt Damon, Jing Tian, and Willem Dafoe, with narrative continuation involving evolved Tao Te threats and further exploration of the Wall's mysteries. These speculative productions, however, remain unverified, often presented through fan-made YouTube trailers and social media posts rather than official announcements by Universal Pictures or Legendary Pictures. Consequently, discussion of a sequel must be approached cautiously, recognizing the distinction between imaginative projection and verified studio plans. The original film's release was carefully staged across markets. Premiering in Beijing on December 6, 2016, it subsequently released in China on December 16, followed by the US debut on February 17, 2017. The timing reflects both strategic positioning for holiday audiences and the intention to leverage international appeal. Promotional campaigns emphasize the film's global scale, combining marketing for Western audiences around Matt Damon and action spectacle with Chinese audiences through references to national history, mythology, and the iconic Great Wall. Merchandising, tie-in media, and visual campaigns underscored the ambition to create a cross-market blockbuster that could resonate both commercially and culturally. Overall, The Great Wall exemplifies the complexities of international filmmaking in the 21st century, where narrative ambition, visual spectacle, star power, and cultural negotiation converge. Its legacy lies in the dialogue it provokes about representation, spectacle versus narrative depth, and the potential for storytelling that bridges global audiences. While its reception was mixed and commercial outcomes debated, the film remains a reference point for cross-cultural cinematic endeavors, illustrating both the opportunities and pitfalls inherent in attempting to synthesize disparate traditions, mythologies, and cinematic sensibilities into a coherent blockbuster format. Speculation surrounding a potential The Great Wall 2 began almost immediately after the release of the first film. Although no official announcement has been made by Legendary Pictures or Zhang Yimou, fans and concept creators have imagined a continuation that expands both the narrative and the visual spectacle of the original. These speculative plots focus on several key themes: the evolution of the Tao Te, the growth and development of returning characters, and the ethical and strategic challenges of defending the Great Wall against increasingly intelligent threats. One of the central elements in fan speculation is the evolution of the Tao Te. In the first film, the creatures are presented as formidable but ultimately predictable, following cyclical patterns of attack every 60 years. Speculative narratives propose that in the sequel, the Tao Te have adapted to human strategies, developing intelligence and coordinated tactics. Some concepts imagine specialized subspecies of Tao Te, each with unique abilities such as flight, enhanced climbing, or rudimentary tool use. These evolved creatures would present new challenges to both returning and new characters, necessitating innovative defensive strategies and technological advancements by the Nameless Order. The Queen Tao Te, or potentially a successor, would emerge as an even more formidable antagonist, capable of outmaneuvering conventional defenses and exploiting weaknesses in human coordination. Character arcs are also central to speculative sequel narratives. William Guerin, having survived the events of the first film, would likely transition from a skilled outsider to a seasoned strategist and mentor figure. His experiences would position him to advise Lin Mei and other leaders, while also facing moral dilemmas related to leadership and decision-making under extreme pressure. Fan-created plots frequently explore the tension between his European perspective and the traditions of the Nameless Order, emphasizing the challenges of cross-cultural cooperation in high-stakes conflict. Lin Mei's role is often envisioned as even more central in sequel concepts. Many fan theories portray her as ascending to the position of Supreme Commander, responsible for guiding the Order through new crises. This development allows for exploration of leadership burdens, succession challenges, and the ethical implications of command. Lin Mei's strategic and combat skills would be tested against both evolved Tao Ti and internal political dynamics within the Order, creating opportunities for tension, character growth, and narrative complexity. Secondary characters such as Pedro Pascal's Pero Tovar are frequently incorporated as loyal allies and sources of levity. In a sequel, he could act as a bridge between Western mercenary perspectives and the institutional knowledge of the Nameless Order, offering creative problem-solving while maintaining a personal arc involving loyalty, courage, and ethical decision-making. Other secondary figures from the first film, or newly introduced characters, could serve to represent generational shifts within the Order, emphasizing the continuity of duty and the evolution of martial culture over time. Many fan-generated plots also imagine expanded world-building. Beyond the Great Wall itself, concepts introduce hidden fortresses, mystical artifacts, and ancient prophecies that guide strategic decisions. Scrolls or texts detailing the origins of the Tao Ti, their cycles, and potential weaknesses are common motifs, providing narrative tools for characters to prepare for unprecedented threats. These elements enrich the sequel's mythos, allowing for deeper exploration of history, lore, and cultural symbolism within the story world. Thematic expansions are another significant aspect of fan speculation. While the first film emphasized heroism, sacrifice, and the cyclical struggle against chaos, sequels could explore moral ambiguity, the costs of leadership, and the ethical dilemmas inherent in preemptive warfare. Questions of cultural preservation versus innovation, loyalty versus pragmatism, and personal desire versus collective duty could drive character development and plot progression. These thematic explorations provide emotional depth and intellectual engagement, elevating the sequel beyond a mere spectacle-driven narrative. Visually, concept trailers and fan art depict grander, more complex battle sequences. Aerial assaults by Tao Ti, siege weapons enhanced with mystical technology, and expansive landscapes provide opportunities for cinematic innovation. Fans imagine sequences in which characters utilize both traditional and improvised tactics, combining historical weaponry, advanced explosives, and strategic ingenuity. This blend of realism and fantasy aligns with the tone of the original film while expanding the scope of visual storytelling. Speculative plots also often introduce political and social subplots. Internal factions within the Nameless Order, tensions between different troops, or interactions with the Imperial Court could create additional layers of conflict. These subplots provide opportunities for character development, strategic intrigue, and dramatic tension beyond the immediate threat of the Tao Ti, enriching the narrative with multidimensional storytelling. Finally, the potential for cross-cultural interaction remains a consistent element in sequel speculation. William and Pero's European perspectives juxtaposed with Lin Mei and the Order's traditional expertise could serve as a narrative vehicle for exploring collaboration, miscommunication, and synthesis of knowledge. This interplay not only drives character development but also reinforces broader themes of cultural exchange and the universality of human courage and ingenuity. In terms of casting for the sequel, reports remain tentative and largely unverified. While returning actors from the original such as Matt Damon, Jing Tian, and Andy Lau were mentioned in several news articles, no official contracts or announcements had been confirmed. Speculation about the inclusion of additional international stars, including names like Donnie Yen, hinted at the filmmaker's desire to heighten martial arts action sequences and broaden global appeal. The anticipated interplay between returning and new characters was expected to deepen narrative complexity, allowing for both personal and collective arcs to unfold against the backdrop of a fantastical war. Production rumors suggested that the sequel would significantly expand the visual and technical ambitions of the first film, leveraging advancements in CGI and large-scale set design to portray battles of unprecedented scope. Conceptual designs circulated online showed larger armies, more intricate wall fortifications, and more diverse Tao Te creatures, underscoring the intention to surpass the original spectacle while maintaining narrative continuity. Regarding the release date and promotional material, information remained ambiguous and often contradictory. Some sources hinted at a 2025 release, while others suggested that delays could push it to 2026. Any trailer available online appeared to be either fan-made concept reels or speculative teasers, rather than officially sanctioned studio releases. These trailers, though visually striking, offered little concrete information about story, tone, or confirmed cast. Analysts noted that this uncertainty was typical for films in early development stages, particularly international co-productions involving complex logistics, cross-border financing, and the need to appeal to diverse audiences. The challenge of aligning release strategies with global markets, particularly China and North America, likely contributed to the lack of official confirmation and the prevalence of rumor-based reporting. The discussion surrounding the Great Wall 2 highlights broader themes in the contemporary film industry, including the increasing importance of cross-cultural collaboration, the strategic use of star power to penetrate multiple markets, and the balancing act between narrative authenticity and commercial viability. The first film's mixed reception, particularly criticism about centering a Western actor in a story rooted in Chinese history and mythology, underscored the delicate nature of this balance. Analysts speculated that the sequel would need to carefully navigate these concerns, perhaps by emphasizing ensemble storytelling, expanding the role of Chinese characters, and deepening the exploration of Tao Te mythology to resonate more strongly with domestic audiences. At the same time, retaining internationally recognizable faces such as Matt Damon could maintain global market interest, reflecting a calculated approach to maximizing box office potential. Despite the speculative nature of the project, fan interest in The Great Wall 2 remains significant. Online discussions often focus on potential storylines, visual effects, and character arcs, demonstrating the cultural footprint of the original film and the appetite for high-concept action fantasy cinema. While production schedules, casting confirmations, and official release dates remain unverified, the anticipation surrounding a sequel reflects both the global popularity of epic fantasy narratives and the ongoing collaboration between Hollywood and Chinese film industries. The rumored sequel, whether it ultimately comes to fruition or remains a concept, illustrates the challenges of large-scale filmmaking in a transnational context, where storytelling, production logistics, audience expectations, and market considerations intersect in complex ways. One of the most striking aspects of The Great Wall lies in its deliberate blending of historical authenticity and fantastical invention. The Great Wall itself, an architectural marvel spanning thousands of miles, serves not only as a physical barrier but also as a symbolic structure representing human perseverance, ingenuity, and the tension between civilization and chaos. In the film, Zhang Yimou elevates the wall from a historical monument to a central narrative device, integrating it into battle choreography, strategic planning, and character arcs. Every tower, battlement, and watchpoint is framed to highlight both scale and utility, emphasizing the monumental task of defending humanity against a seemingly insurmountable threat. The cinematic depiction of the wall in sweeping panoramic shots, combined with digital augmentation and practical sets, creates an immersive environment that communicates both beauty and danger. The careful attention to detail, ranging from accurate period architecture to weaponry inspired by Song Dynasty innovations, demonstrates a commitment to grounding the fantasy elements in a believable historical context. This interplay between realism and imagination is a hallmark of Zhang Yimou's style, evident in his previous works such as Hero and House of Flying Daggers, where aesthetics, narrative, and choreography converge into a cohesive cinematic language. In examining the thematic depth of The Great Wall, the film explores the concept of collective responsibility in the face of existential threats. The Nameless Order embodies the values of discipline, foresight, and sacrifice, reflecting historical ideals of loyalty and service. Individual characters, such as Commander Lin, William Guerin, and strategist Wang, navigate personal motivations while aligning with the greater mission, highlighting the tension between self-interest and communal duty. These dynamics allow the audience to engage with philosophical questions about the cost of survival, the nature of heroism, and the ethical implications of war. The Tao Te themselves, as monstrous antagonists, function symbolically as forces of chaos, unbridled nature, and the unknown. Their cyclical attacks every 60 years suggest the inevitability of challenge and the necessity of preparation, linking the narrative to broader human concerns about cycles of history, resilience, and adaptability. By merging mythic storytelling with these philosophical undertones, the film transcends simple action spectacle, inviting reflection on the interplay between human ingenuity, courage, and mortality. The visual storytelling of The Great Wall also merits careful attention. Zhang Yimou, renowned for his use of color, composition, and movement, constructs scenes that are at once aesthetically stunning and narratively functional. Battle sequences are meticulously choreographed, integrating wide shots that emphasize scale and close-ups that capture individual heroism. The Tao Te's design combines elements of insectoid aggression with mythological menace, ensuring that each confrontation is both terrifying and visually captivating. Cinematographer Zhao Xiaoding employs dynamic camera techniques, often moving fluidly with characters to immerse viewers in the action while maintaining spatial clarity, a challenging feat in large-scale battle sequences. Additionally, the integration of CGI with practical effects demonstrates a sophisticated approach to digital filmmaking, where tangible sets and costumes enhance the realism of digitally enhanced creatures and environments. Music, composed by Ramin Djawadi, further accentuates the narrative's tension and grandeur, using orchestral motifs to evoke emotion, anticipation, and heroism, complementing the visual intensity and reinforcing thematic resonance. The critical reception of the film reflects both admiration and contention. While praise often centered on production values, visual spectacle, and action choreography, critics frequently debated narrative choices, particularly the prominence of a Western lead character in a story deeply rooted in Chinese history and mythology. Some commentators saw Matt Damon's role as a strategic move to attract global audiences, especially in the North American market, while others criticized it for overshadowing local talent and cultural authenticity. Nevertheless, actors like Jing Tian and Andy Lau were recognized for their performances, and the ensemble's efforts in battle sequences received acclaim. From a commercial standpoint, the film's strong box office performance in China highlighted the domestic audience's interest in large-scale fantasy epics that incorporate elements of cultural pride and mythology. Its global performance, though more mixed, underscores the complexities of producing films designed to appeal to multiple markets simultaneously, balancing local relevance with international accessibility. Transitioning to the speculative sequel, The Great Wall 2, one can imagine the narrative expanding in multiple directions to enhance complexity and depth. The emergence of new Tao Te variants could introduce not only physical threats but also psychological challenges, forcing characters to confront fears, doubts, and ethical dilemmas. Storylines might explore the consequences of human intervention in natural cycles, the corruption or decay within the nameless order, and the strategic evolution necessary to combat increasingly intelligent adversaries. The sequel could also delve into the origins of the Tao Te, perhaps connecting them to ancient civilizations, mystical energies, or cosmic phenomena, expanding the narrative scope from localized defense to a global existential challenge. By maintaining continuity with the first film while exploring new narrative territories, the sequel could offer both satisfying resolutions for returning characters and opportunities for introducing new figures whose motivations and abilities diversify the story. From a production perspective, The Great Wall 2 would likely leverage advancements in visual effects, motion capture, and large-scale set construction to achieve even more spectacular sequences. Rumors suggest the potential involvement of martial arts experts like Donnie Yen, which could shift the choreography toward more stylized, intricate combat sequences, integrating human skill and creature design in innovative ways. The blending of practical stunts with CGI would remain crucial to maintaining a sense of realism, particularly in depicting large-scale battles on the wall itself and the dynamic movement of fantastical creatures. The sequel's visual palette could evolve as well, employing varied environments, mountain ranges, subterranean tunnels, and mystical landscapes, to create narrative tension and maintain viewer engagement. These creative decisions would likely reflect a strategic approach to cinematic storytelling, balancing spectacle, character development, and thematic resonance. Culturally, the sequel represents an opportunity to deepen engagement with Chinese mythology and history while continuing cross-cultural dialogue through cinema. By expanding the Tao Te mythology, introducing new legends, and exploring historical parallels, the narrative could reinforce the significance of storytelling in preserving cultural memory. At the same time, the inclusion of international characters and actors allows for an exploration of intercultural collaboration, conflict resolution, and shared human experiences. The thematic exploration of sacrifice, innovation, and resilience remains central, reinforcing universal values while rooted in specific historical and cultural contexts. Audience reception will likely hinge on how effectively these themes are integrated with action and spectacle, as well as the degree to which the sequel balances entertainment with thoughtful storytelling. Imagining the sequel's opening sequence, one can see it immediately establishing heightened stakes and new threats. The film could begin with a panoramic view of the Great Wall at dawn, its towers stretching across mist-covered mountains, disrupted by ominous signs hinting at the Tao Te's return. Character reintroduction and development would play a pivotal role. William Guerin could be portrayed as reflective, coping with trauma, while Commander Lin emerges as an even more formidable leader. Internal conflicts within the Nameless Order might challenge cohesion, emphasizing themes of loyalty, ethics, and strategy. Battle sequences could escalate in scale, with the Tao Te employing coordinated strategies that force the Order to innovate. Multi-perspective storytelling would allow audiences to experience the scope and intensity of conflict, while practical effects and CGI blend to create immersive sequences. The sequel could explore hidden underground worlds, ancient civilizations, and mystical artifacts, adding layers of intrigue and visual creativity. Romantic and interpersonal dynamics could deepen the narrative, with partnerships, mentor-student relationships, and alliances providing emotional stakes. Political and strategic subplots could expand the world building, showing neighboring regions responding to the Tao Te threat, reinforcing themes of cooperation and diplomacy. Production-wise, large-scale sets, advanced CGI, motion capture, sound design, and musical scoring would converge to enhance realism and spectacle. Costume and armor design would reflect character development and cultural significance. As the story reaches its climax, evolved Tao Te would mount an unprecedented assault on the wall, testing all characters' abilities, intelligence, and courage. Multi-perspective sequences would capture both the grandeur and human stakes of conflict. The final confrontation with the Tao Te Queen or evolved leader would combine physical, strategic, and symbolic challenges. Post-climactic resolution would address survival, character growth, and the consequences of conflict, providing both closure and opportunities for future expansion. Global reception could vary, with domestic audiences responding to cultural resonance and international audiences engaging with spectacle and fantasy. Critically, the sequel could face scrutiny over narrative pacing or complexity, but careful integration of action, mythology, and character depth would enhance appeal. Thematically, the sequel emphasizes cycles of struggle, human resilience, heroism, and the balance between civilization and uncontrollable forces. Advanced production techniques, set design, visual effects, sound, music, and cinematography, would create immersive experiences, supporting narrative and emotional impact. The speculative vision of the Great Wall 2 illustrates creative potential and practical challenges in international filmmaking, highlighting cultural sensitivity, storytelling, and global market strategy. In conclusion, The Great Wall and its rumored sequel present a rich narrative combining visual spectacle, thematic depth, character development, and cross-cultural cinematic ambition. From the defense against the Tao Te in the original film to the expanded mythology, intensified threats, and evolving character arcs in the sequel, the story merges entertainment with philosophical reflection. Production, artistry, global strategy, and cultural significance converge, offering a vision of epic filmmaking that resonates internationally. Whether or not The Great Wall 2 materializes, the imaginative world, enduring themes, and cinematic ambition ensure that the saga of the Great Wall remains a compelling subject for storytelling and audience engagement. Beyond the immediate narrative of battles and heroism, the Great Wall is rich with mythological and symbolic elements that deepen its narrative resonance. The film constructs a mythology around both the Great Wall itself and the Tao Te creatures, blending historical context with fantastical storytelling to create a layered cinematic universe. The Great Wall, in both reality and the film, functions as more than a physical barrier. Historically, the wall was a defensive structure intended to protect Chinese civilization from invading forces, symbolizing vigilance, unity, and resilience. In the film, the wall embodies these themes while also serving as a mythical space where human ingenuity and courage confront supernatural chaos. It represents the intersection of human effort and the unpredictable forces of nature, providing a dramatic stage for exploring heroism, duty, and the cyclical nature of conflict. Each tower, battlement, and gate becomes a microcosm of strategic thinking, cultural continuity, and collective action, highlighting how physical structures can be imbued with symbolic significance in storytelling. The Tao Te creatures themselves are emblematic of chaos, unpredictability, and the unknown. Their recurring attacks every 60 years establish a cyclical mythos, suggesting that human civilization is in a perpetual struggle with forces beyond its control. This cyclical threat reinforces the narrative tension and provides a symbolic framework for themes of preparation, sacrifice, and generational continuity. The Queen Tao Te, as the intelligent apex of this species, represents the apex of natural and supernatural threat, a tangible manifestation of the challenges humanity faces when confronting forces that are both relentless and adaptive. The film's visual symbolism extends to costume and troop design. Each troop of the Nameless Order is distinct not only in fighting style but also in the visual language of color, armor, and insignia. These design choices communicate hierarchy, specialization, and identity without overt exposition, reinforcing the narrative visually. For example, the Bear Troop's heavy armor symbolizes brute strength and resilience, while the Crane Troop's light, agile attire conveys flexibility and finesse. This visual differentiation creates a symbolic system in which the audience can understand character roles, social structures, and combat capabilities at a glance. Thematic analysis reveals multiple layers. Heroism is central, but the film examines it through both individual and collective lenses. William Guerin's journey exemplifies personal heroism, as he evolves from a self-interested mercenary to a courageous, loyal ally of the Nameless Order. Lin Mei represents institutional and strategic heroism, demonstrating leadership, sacrifice, and moral integrity. Secondary characters such as Peng Yong and Wan underscore the theme of sacrifice, illustrating the human cost of defending civilization. Together, these arcs communicate that heroism is multifaceted, encompassing courage, ethical judgment, and the willingness to place collective welfare above personal gain. The film also engages with themes of cultural exchange. The interaction between Western mercenaries and Chinese warriors emphasizes the potential for collaboration across cultural boundaries. William and Pero bring tactical knowledge and unconventional approaches, while Lin Mei, Wang, and the Order provide discipline, historical insight, and strategic expertise. Their cooperation highlights the value of integrating diverse perspectives when confronting complex challenges, a theme with resonance beyond the fictional narrative. Symbolism in battle choreography and landscapes further reinforces thematic depth. The Great Wall itself functions as a visual metaphor for human resilience, stretching across expansive landscapes that juxtapose human scale against the enormity of the Tao Te threat. Battle sequences often utilize verticality, towers, and gates to symbolize strategic advantage and vulnerability. Characters moving along battlements, engaging in combat at height, or defending choke points visually communicate both tactical concepts and moral struggles, emphasizing the stakes of their struggle in a manner that dialogue alone cannot convey. The cyclical nature of the Tao Te threat is echoed in the visual storytelling. Repeated waves of creatures, attacks at specific points along the wall, and the recurring presence of the Queen Tao Te create a sense of inevitability and historical continuity. This cyclical motif reinforces the mythological undertone, situating human struggle within a larger narrative of natural order, cosmic cycles, and the perpetual confrontation between chaos and civilization. The interplay of mythology, symbolism, and visual storytelling also lays the foundation for potential sequels. Fan speculation frequently imagines further exploration of Tao Te origins, ancient prophecies embedded in the wall, and previously undiscovered architectural features serving as traps or strategic points. Such expansions deepen the narrative universe, allowing subsequent stories to explore moral dilemmas, historical continuity, and the evolving human response to existential threats. Finally, the film's thematic layering underscores the universality of its story. Heroism, sacrifice, strategic thinking, and cultural collaboration are themes that resonate across time and geography. By embedding these themes within a richly symbolic and mythological framework, the Great Wall achieves a narrative depth that complements its visual spectacle, ensuring that the story engages audiences on both intellectual and emotional levels. The opening of the Great Wall immediately establishes the film's dual identity as both a fantastical epic and a story of human ambition. The narrative begins with the arrival of William Guerin and Pero Tovar in the vast deserts of northern China. The harsh landscape and endless dunes communicate both isolation and peril, creating a sense of foreboding that underlines the protagonist's outsider status. Guerin and Tovar's pursuit of gunpowder, a symbol of European technological advantage, introduces them as pragmatic opportunists whose skills are grounded in practicality rather than honor. Yet, even in these initial sequences, subtle gestures reveal Guerin's underlying curiosity and latent sense of morality. The cinematography in these desert scenes utilizes expansive wide shots, emphasizing the scale of the natural environment relative to the human figures, reinforcing themes of vulnerability and ambition. Dust-laden winds, shifting sands, and the oppressive sun all contribute to the sense of being at the edge of civilization, foreshadowing the arrival at a monumental structure that symbolizes both defense and human ingenuity, the Great Wall itself. The first encounter with the Nameless Order marks a significant turning point. The Order, with their green uniforms, disciplined formations, and rigorous code, represent an almost monastic devotion to duty, echoing the cultural and historical significance of the Wall. Commander Lin Mei is introduced with controlled grace, her movements precise and purposeful, signaling the martial artistry that will dominate subsequent sequences. Her initial assessment of the foreigners is layered with skepticism, yet her interactions suggest a recognition of potential allies. The film emphasizes the tension between insider and outsider perspectives, presenting Guerin and Tovar as intelligent but culturally unmoored, while the Nameless Order embodies collective knowledge, historical continuity, and strategic expertise. The first wave of Tao Te attacks reveals Zhang Yimou's skill in orchestrating large-scale action sequences. Each battle demonstrates meticulous choreography, combining wirework, practical stunts, and computer-generated effects to create a dynamic visual tapestry. The Tao Te themselves are designed to evoke both alien menace and mythological resonance, with their insectoid anatomy, luminous eyes, and terrifying swiftness. The cinematic rhythm alternates between rapid assaults and methodical defensive maneuvers, highlighting the tension between chaos and order. In these sequences, Guerin's ingenuity begins to manifest. His European perspective on warfare contrasts with the Order's disciplined formations, creating narrative interplay between improvisation and tradition. These moments also underscore recurring themes: the necessity of adaptability, the value of collective effort, and the intersection of human courage with strategic planning. As the narrative progresses, deeper layers of Tao Te mythology are revealed. The creatures are not mindless monsters, their attacks follow a discernible pattern, suggesting intelligence and an evolutionary hierarchy. The introduction of the Tao Te Queen escalates both the narrative stakes and thematic depth. She is depicted not merely as a physical threat but as a force embodying primordial chaos. Her design, a fusion of insect-like physiology and regal menace, reflects her narrative role as a sovereign entity whose defeat requires both tactical brilliance and moral clarity. This anthropomorphizing of the antagonists allows the story to explore philosophical questions about the nature of evil, the boundaries of human resilience, and the ethical dimensions of warfare. Character development is intricately woven into these high-stakes sequences. Garen's transformation from self-serving mercenary to committed ally is gradual yet convincing, rooted in repeated exposure to the Order's discipline, the Wall's symbolic significance, and the stakes of the Tau Te threat. Commander Lin Mei's leadership is consistently reinforced through her decisiveness, her ability to inspire her troops, and her strategic foresight. Pero Tovar provides narrative levity and pragmatic counsel, his humor and cunning balancing the more formal and ritualized approach of the Nameless Order. Secondary characters, such as strategist Wang and General Xiao, enrich the story's texture, offering insights into historical continuity, the burdens of leadership, and the cost of defending civilization against overwhelming odds. The middle act of the film emphasizes siege tactics, defense coordination, and inventive problem-solving. Explosives, catapults, and intricate trap mechanisms showcase a blend of historical martial engineering and fantastical creativity. Zhang Yimou's direction in these sequences highlights the Wall itself as a character, with every battlement, gate, and tower participating in the unfolding drama. The interplay of camera angles, tracking shots that follow the movement of Tau Te across the Wall, close-ups that capture the intensity of human expression, and aerial perspectives that convey scope, creates a cinematic language that communicates both the grandeur and the peril inherent in defending against such formidable adversaries. Interpersonal dynamics continue to develop alongside the action. Garen's relationship with Lin Mei grows from cautious alliance to mutual respect, reflecting broader cultural exchanges and ethical negotiations. Tovar's humor contrasts with the strictness of the Order, yet moments of shared risk and sacrifice illustrate the convergence of differing values in the crucible of battle. These interactions also humanize the epic narrative, grounding the fantastical elements in relatable emotional stakes. Themes of loyalty, honor, and moral courage are repeatedly reinforced, reminding the audience that heroism is as much about ethical choice as physical prowess. The climax of the film is both literal and symbolic. The battle against the Tau Te Queen involves the full ensemble of protagonists and the disciplined coordination of the Nameless Order. The Queen's intelligence and adaptability force Garen and the Order to combine creativity, courage, and precise execution. The use of gunpowder as a strategic element underscores the film's exploration of technological innovation in the context of traditional martial practices. The Queen's eventual defeat represents the triumph of collective human ingenuity and valor over existential threat, providing a resolution that is both thrilling and morally satisfying. Visually, the sequence is an orchestration of spectacle, explosions, acrobatics, and visual effects converge to create a climactic tableau that underscores the film's thematic focus on resilience, unity, and the confrontation with chaos. The denouement extends beyond the immediate resolution of the Tau Te threat. Garen and Tovar, having undergone significant personal transformation, depart from the Wall with an altered sense of purpose. Lin Mei and the Nameless Order continue their vigilant guardianship, emphasizing continuity and the enduring responsibility of protecting civilization. The film's closing moments linger on the Wall itself, a monumental structure that symbolizes the interplay of human endeavor, historical memory, and the struggle against forces that threaten order and harmony. In these final images, Zhang Yimou encapsulates both the narrative and thematic essence of the film, leaving audiences with a vision of enduring courage, cultural pride, and the intricate balance between human agency and mythic forces. The mythology of the Tau Te, as elaborated in the film, reflects a sophisticated world-building effort. Their behavior, life cycle, and hierarchical organization suggest an ecosystem that interacts with human civilization in complex ways. The Queen functions as both a narrative antagonist and a symbolic representation of natural and cosmic forces that challenge human ingenuity. These creatures, while fantastical, are given rules and internal logic, providing narrative coherence and enabling audiences to engage with the threat intellectually and emotionally. This attention to detail distinguishes The Great Wall from simpler monster action films, positioning it as a story where myth, strategy, and morality intersect. The production of The Great Wall is notable not only for its ambition but also for the challenges inherent in melding Eastern and Western filmmaking traditions. Zhang Yimou, already acclaimed for visually rich films like Hero and House of Flying Daggers, approached the project with an emphasis on grandeur, color, and spectacle, while also navigating the demands of Hollywood studios and international audiences. The collaboration between Legendary Pictures, Universal Pictures, and China Film Group required careful negotiation of creative priorities, cultural sensitivities, and logistical complexities. For instance, budget allocation involved balancing large-scale set construction, costume design, visual effects, and talent acquisition, including securing globally recognized actors such as Matt Damon, Willem Dafoe, and Pedro Pascal, whose presence was intended to ensure international box office appeal. Filming primarily took place in China, across vast desert regions and purpose-built sections of the Great Wall, augmented by computer-generated extensions. The sets themselves were monumental undertakings. Production designers constructed expansive battlements, fortified towers, and intricate siege equipment that blended historical authenticity with imaginative elements appropriate for a fantasy narrative. The sheer scale of the wall in the film was designed to convey both physical and symbolic weight, emphasizing humanity's collective effort against forces that threaten existence. Zhang Yimou worked closely with choreographers, stunt coordinators, and martial arts experts to design combat sequences that were both visually spectacular and narratively meaningful. Actors trained intensively in weapon handling, acrobatics, and period-appropriate movement to lend authenticity to their performances, even in sequences augmented with wirework and CGI. Visual effects played a crucial role in bringing the Tao Te to life. Weta Digital, renowned for its work on The Lord of the Rings and Avatar, developed fully realized digital models of the creatures, blending insect-like and fantastical features with believable anatomy. Animators studied natural movement patterns to create a sense of lifelike motion, ensuring that the Tao Te felt menacing and coherent within the film's physical environment. The Queen, in particular, required extensive design iterations to balance intimidation, majesty, and narrative functionality. Lighting, texture mapping, and particle effects were meticulously calibrated to maintain realism while preserving the mythic qualities central to the creature's role in the story. Costume design further reinforced the fusion of history and fantasy. The Nameless Order's uniforms, weapons, and armor were influenced by historical Chinese military garb, yet stylized for cinematic impact. The design emphasizes mobility, color coding, and visual clarity during action sequences, allowing audiences to track characters and understand the tactical choreography of battle. Costumes for the Tao Te drew from natural and mythological inspiration, combining elements of insects, crustaceans, and alien aesthetics to convey both otherworldliness and internal hierarchy. Costume, combined with production design and cinematography, contributed to a fully immersive visual environment, where every object and surface carried meaning, enhancing both story and spectacle. Behind-the-scenes anecdotes reflect the film's ambitious scope and the dedication of its cast and crew. Reports from production indicate that actors underwent weeks of martial arts training and stunt rehearsals before principal photography. Matt Damon, in particular, committed to a physically demanding schedule, performing sequences that required climbing, leaping, and extended wirework. Director Zhang Yimou was noted for his meticulous attention to detail, often requiring multiple takes to ensure perfect alignment between camera movement, actor positioning, and background action. Crew members faced challenges related to harsh weather, extensive set construction, and coordinating complex sequences involving hundreds of extras, pyrotechnics, and animatronic props. The collaborative effort, combining Chinese craftsmanship, Hollywood logistical expertise, and digital innovation, underscores the film's ambition to achieve a global cinematic experience that respects both its historical and fantastical dimensions. Cultural analysis of the Great Wall highlights the complex intersection of global cinema, representation, and narrative authority. The casting of a Western lead in a story deeply rooted in Chinese mythology sparked debate over cultural authenticity and the white savior trope. While some critics argued that Matt Damon's presence was a marketing decision aimed at ensuring Western box office appeal, others emphasized the film's attempt to blend perspectives, with Damon's character gradually learning from and respecting the wisdom of the Nameless Order. This narrative arc serves as a conduit for audiences unfamiliar with Chinese culture, while simultaneously foregrounding the strength, intelligence, and leadership of characters such as Lin Mei, who embodies moral and tactical authority. Reception of the film varied widely across markets. In China, audiences appreciated the visual spectacle, action choreography, and historical fantasy elements, with particular praise for Jing Tian's performance as a capable and commanding protagonist. Western critics were more divided, lauding the production design, cinematography, and action sequences while criticizing the narrative, character development, and dialogue. Rotten Tomatoes assigns the film a critic score of approximately 35%, reflecting a range of responses from admiration of technical achievement to disappointment in storytelling. Box office performance, approximately $334.9 million worldwide, demonstrates the film's appeal yet also underscores the challenges of producing an international co-production that fully satisfies disparate audience expectations. Some analysts argue that marketing costs and budget overruns limited the film's profitability, highlighting the risks inherent in projects that attempt to balance cultural fidelity with global commercial considerations. The film's influence extends beyond financial and critical measures. The Great Wall contributed to discussions about cross-cultural filmmaking, visual storytelling, and the integration of historical myth into contemporary cinema. Scholars have examined the film as a case study in globalized narrative production, analyzing how Chinese mythological motifs are adapted for Western audiences, and how action spectacle can serve both entertainment and cultural communication. The use of the Great Wall itself as a narrative and symbolic device has been interpreted as a meditation on civilization, resilience, and human ingenuity, providing layers of meaning beyond the surface spectacle. While The Great Wall 2 remains speculative, the original film's rich visual universe and narrative world-building provide fertile ground for continued storytelling. Fan-made trailers and concept art explore scenarios in which William Guerin returns to China, the Tao Te evolve into new threats, and the Nameless Order faces further existential challenges. These projects, though unofficial, underscore the enduring fascination with the narrative universe established by Zhang Yimou, suggesting that the film's impact is both immediate and ongoing, inspiring creative engagement across multiple media platforms. In conclusion, The Great Wall represents an ambitious endeavor to merge cinematic traditions, mythological storytelling, and large-scale spectacle. Its production reflects meticulous planning, technical mastery, and the challenges of balancing cross-cultural narrative priorities. Critically, the film provokes dialogue about representation, heroism, and the nature of cinematic spectacle, while commercially it demonstrates both the potential and the risks of international co-productions. The enduring interest in the story, as evidenced by fan engagement and speculative projects, highlights its capacity to inspire imagination and discourse, situating the film as a significant, if contested, entry in the canon of 21st-century fantasy and action cinema. A potential sequel to The Great Wall opens enormous opportunities for expanded world-building, both geographically and mythologically. While the first film primarily focused on the northern sections of the Great Wall and the immediate threat of the Tao Te, fan speculation and conceptual narratives envision a much broader universe. New regions beyond the wall could include remote mountain fortresses, hidden valleys, ancient temples, and lost cities, all offering strategic importance and potential narrative intrigue. These locations allow for diversified storytelling, from exploration and diplomacy to high-stakes battles against evolved Tao Te. The mythology of the Tao Te could also be expanded. Speculative narratives frequently introduce subspecies or elite variants with unique abilities, creating distinct challenges for returning and new characters. For example, flying Tao Te capable of aerial assaults, subterranean creatures that can tunnel under fortifications, and telepathically coordinated leaders could provide fresh obstacles. Each variant would require tailored strategies from the Nameless Order, highlighting themes of adaptability, ingenuity, and the importance of combining diverse skills and perspectives. This world building also opens the possibility for discovering ancient Tao Te artifacts or relics, linking the creatures to lost civilizations and deepening the lore of the universe. Advanced weaponry and tactics would be central to a sequel's narrative and visual spectacle. Fan-generated concepts often blend historical Chinese warfare with fantastical elements. Traditional siege weapons, such as catapults, ballistae, and trebuchets, could be modified with mystical enhancements or explosives inspired by gunpowder innovations. Crossbow squads equipped with specialized ammunition, strategically designed traps embedded along the wall, and alchemical devices creating barriers or explosives could further enrich battle strategies. The combination of historical realism with imaginative technology creates a unique aesthetic that balances believability with cinematic spectacle. Strategic warfare could also evolve in response to the Tao Te's intelligence. The creature's adaptability would force characters to employ dynamic battlefield tactics, such as ambushes, coordinated multi-pronged assaults, and the use of environmental features for defensive advantage. These sequences provide opportunities for visually stunning and narratively rich action, combining choreography, visual effects, and creative problem-solving. Concept art for sequels often portrays characters coordinating across multiple battlements, using signal systems and advanced timing to counter fast-moving Tao Te threats. New human factions and allies could also expand the narrative. Beyond the Nameless Order, speculative universes envision other warrior tribes, mercenary groups, or distant settlements affected by Tao Te incursions. These groups could provide additional narrative tension, diplomacy challenges, or cooperative alliances, creating a richer social and political landscape. Conflicts over strategy, resources, and leadership could add depth to character development, illustrating the moral and ethical complexities of defending humanity against overwhelming threats. From a cinematic perspective, these expanded elements offer remarkable opportunities for visual storytelling. Sweeping landscapes, multi-layered fortifications, and vertical combat sequences allow directors to create dynamic, multidimensional action scenes. Aerial cinematography could capture Tao Te flight patterns and large-scale sieges, while practical and CGI-enhanced sets could provide tactile, immersive environments for close-quarters combat. Environmental storytelling, such as ancient carvings, mystical symbols, or the weathered architecture of hidden fortresses, adds layers of context and cultural depth, enriching both the narrative and the visual experience. The integration of sound design and musical score would be equally critical. Each new Tao Te variant could have unique auditory signatures, emphasizing their abilities and threat levels. Battle sequences could blend natural sounds, weapon impact, and creature vocalizations to heighten immersion, while thematic motifs in the score could reinforce heroism, tension, and the cyclical nature of conflict. This audiovisual integration ensures that the world feels alive, consistent, and emotionally resonant. Finally, narrative and visual expansion allows for exploration of previously unexplored themes. New locations, creatures, and human factions enable stories of leadership under duress, ethical dilemmas in preemptive defense, and the cultural exchange between diverse groups. The evolving Tao Te threat can symbolize the broader challenges of adaptation and resilience, reflecting both individual heroism and collective strategy. This expansion ensures that a sequel or extended narrative is not merely a repetition of spectacle but an exploration of a fully realized universe, rich in mythology, strategy, and human drama. The Great Wall is a visually ambitious cinematic project that represents a rare collaboration between Hollywood and Chinese filmmaking industries. Released in 2016, it was directed by Zhang Yimou, one of China's most celebrated filmmakers, known for his mastery of visual storytelling and epic-scale productions. The movie was a co-production between Legendary Pictures, Legendary East, Atlas Entertainment, and the China Film Group, symbolizing a significant moment of cross-cultural filmmaking. It sought to blend Western star power with Eastern mythology, drawing attention not only from audiences in China but also from global moviegoers. The lead role was portrayed by Matt Damon, an actor whose involvement signaled Hollywood's investment in reaching the Chinese market, a strategy that had become increasingly common in the mid-2010s. Alongside him, actors such as Jing Tian, Pedro Pascal, Willem Dafoe, and Andy Lau contributed to a diverse cast, blending international and Chinese talent to appeal to a wide audience. The film had a reported budget of around $150 million, making it one of the most expensive films produced in China at the time. Its visual effects, elaborate set pieces, and intricate costume designs reflected the scale of the story it sought to tell, drawing inspiration from centuries of Chinese history while introducing fantastical elements. The story of the Great Wall is set during the Song dynasty in China, an era marked by significant political, technological, and military developments. The central plot revolves around a mythical threat to humanity, the Tao Ti, monstrous creatures that emerge from hidden underground tunnels every 60 years to ravage human settlements. These creatures are portrayed as terrifyingly numerous, powerful, and relentless, posing a threat so existential that it requires a highly disciplined and secretive military response. The film introduces the Nameless Order, a military force tasked with guarding the Great Wall and protecting the world from these monstrous attacks. Their methods, strategies, and ceremonial rituals form the core of the story, showcasing an organization that operates with a level of secrecy and dedication reminiscent of legendary warrior orders from myth and history. The arrival of the European mercenaries William Guerin, played by Matt Damon, and Pero Tovar, played by Pedro Pascal, provides the narrative's external viewpoint. They enter China seeking black powder, a technological innovation they hope to acquire, and their initial misunderstanding and subsequent integration into the Nameless Order allow the audience to learn about the Tao Ti, the Wall, and the elaborate defense systems through their eyes. This narrative choice reflects a common storytelling device in epic fantasy films, where an outsider's perspective provides a gateway for the audience to navigate a complex fictional world. As the plot unfolds, the mercenaries witness the full scale of the Tao Ti threat. The creatures are depicted in several waves of attacks, each increasing in intensity and danger, showcasing the Nameless Order's strategic acumen and the formidable architecture of the Great Wall itself. Commander Lin, played by Jing Tian, emerges as a pivotal figure, representing both leadership and moral compass within the Nameless Order. Her interactions with William Guerin create narrative tension, exploring themes of trust, loyalty, and cultural exchange. Strategist Wang, portrayed by Andy Lau, and other key members of the Order provide additional layers to the narrative, contributing to battle strategy, political intrigue, and the mystical understanding of the Tao Ti. The climax revolves around a meticulously planned confrontation with the Tao Ti Queen, known as the Queen Tao Tai, where human ingenuity, sacrifice, and courage determine the outcome. The use of black powder as a decisive weapon illustrates a blend of historical technology with fantastical storytelling, anchoring the film's fantasy elements in a form of plausibility grounded in human innovation. The reception of The Great Wall was mixed, reflecting both admiration for its visual spectacle and criticism for its narrative and casting choices. While some praised Zhang Yimou's direction and the elaborate battle sequences, others questioned the focus on a Western lead in a story rooted in Chinese history and mythology. The film grossed over $334 million worldwide, making it commercially successful, especially in China, where it resonated with local audiences through its depiction of cultural heritage and national pride. Its production quality, visual effects, and action choreography set new benchmarks for Chinese cinema and established a precedent for future collaborations between Hollywood and Chinese studios. The film's release also sparked discussions about the global film market, cultural representation, and the dynamics of cross-cultural storytelling in a world increasingly interconnected by entertainment media. Following the release of The Great Wall in 2016, discussions of a sequel began circulating among film fans and industry watchers, though official announcements remained scarce. The concept of The Great Wall 2 emerged primarily from speculative sources and entertainment news blogs, indicating an interest in expanding the story world introduced by Zhang Yimou's original film. While no mainstream studio had publicly confirmed production details at the time, reports suggested that Legendary Pictures and the China Film Group, both key collaborators in the original, were exploring the possibility of a continuation, aiming to build on the fantasy and action elements that had captivated audiences. The rumored sequel promised a grander scale, with more elaborate battles, a deeper exploration of Tao Ti mythology, and a potential expansion of the world beyond the Great Wall itself. The narrative was expected to retain some continuity from the original, bringing back familiar characters while introducing new threats and allies to drive the story forward. Discussions about the sequel often emphasized the challenge of balancing Western and Eastern audience expectations, a theme that had influenced the casting and narrative decisions of the first film. The plot speculations for The Great Wall 2 suggested a continuation of the struggle against the Tao Ti, but with evolved and more dangerous creatures that threatened not only China but potentially the entire world. Rumors indicated that the story might explore the origin of the Tao Ti, revealing ancient prophecies or artifacts that had been hidden during the events of the first film. The Nameless Order, previously depicted as a secretive and disciplined military force, was expected to face unprecedented challenges, testing the loyalty, courage, and ingenuity of its members. The narrative might explore how humans, armed with advanced strategies and technology such as black powder, could counter a threat that had grown stronger and more cunning over decades. Some speculative accounts suggested that William Guerin, played by Matt Damon, could be called back to China to assist the Order once again, symbolizing a bridge between Western perspectives and Eastern heritage in the story's thematic structure. Commander Lin and strategist Wang were also rumored to return, maintaining continuity and reinforcing the importance of leadership, sacrifice, and strategic thinking in the face of existential threats. In terms of casting for the sequel, reports remain tentative and largely unverified. While returning actors from the original such as Matt Damon, Jing Tian, and Andy Lau were mentioned in several news articles, no official contracts or announcements had been confirmed. Speculation about the inclusion of additional international stars, including names like Donnie Yen, hinted at the filmmaker's desire to heighten martial arts action sequences and broaden global appeal. The anticipated interplay between returning and new characters was expected to deepen narrative complexity, allowing for both personal and collective arcs to unfold against the backdrop of a fantastical war. Production rumors suggested that the sequel would significantly expand the visual and technical ambitions of the first film, leveraging advancements in CGI and large-scale set design to portray battles of unprecedented scope. Conceptual designs circulated online showed larger armies, more intricate wall fortifications, and more diverse Tau T creatures, underscoring the intention to surpass the original spectacle while maintaining narrative continuity. Regarding the release date and promotional material, information remained ambiguous and often contradictory. Some sources hinted at a 2025 release, while others suggested that delays could push it to 2026. Any trailer available online appeared to be either fan-made concept reels or speculative teasers, rather than officially sanctioned studio releases. These trailers, though visually striking, offered little concrete information about story, tone, or confirmed cast. Analysts noted that this uncertainty was typical for films in early development stages, particularly international co-productions involving complex logistics, cross-border financing, and the need to appeal to diverse audiences. The challenge of aligning release strategies with global markets, particularly China and North America, likely contributed to the lack of official confirmation and the prevalence of rumor-based reporting. The discussion surrounding the Great Wall 2 highlights broader themes in the contemporary film industry, including the increasing importance of cross-cultural collaboration, the strategic use of star power to penetrate multiple markets, and the balancing act between narrative authenticity and commercial viability. The first film's mixed reception, particularly criticism about centering a Western actor in a story rooted in Chinese history and mythology, underscored the delicate nature of this balance. Analysts speculated that the sequel would need to carefully navigate these concerns, perhaps by emphasizing ensemble storytelling, expanding the role of Chinese characters, and deepening the exploration of Tao Te mythology to resonate more strongly with domestic audiences. At the same time, retaining internationally recognizable faces such as Matt Damon could maintain global market interest, reflecting a calculated approach to maximizing box office potential. Despite the speculative nature of the project, fan interest in The Great Wall 2 remains significant. Online discussions often focus on potential storylines, visual effects, and character arcs, demonstrating the cultural footprint of the original film and the appetite for high-concept action fantasy cinema. While production schedules, casting confirmations, and official release dates remain unverified, the anticipation surrounding a sequel reflects both the global popularity of epic fantasy narratives and the ongoing collaboration between Hollywood and Chinese film industries. The rumored sequel, whether it ultimately comes to fruition or remains a concept, illustrates the challenges of large-scale filmmaking in a transnational context, where storytelling, production logistics, audience expectations, and market considerations intersect in complex ways. One of the most striking aspects of The Great Wall lies in its deliberate blending of historical authenticity and fantastical invention. The Great Wall itself, an architectural marvel spanning thousands of miles, serves not only as a physical barrier but also as a symbolic structure representing human perseverance, ingenuity, and the tension between civilization and chaos. In the film, Zhang Yimou elevates the wall from a historical monument to a central narrative device, integrating it into battle choreography, strategic planning, and character arcs. Every tower, battlement, and watchpoint is framed to highlight both scale and utility, emphasizing the monumental task of defending humanity against a seemingly insurmountable threat. The cinematic depiction of the wall in sweeping panoramic shots, combined with digital augmentation and practical sets, creates an immersive environment that communicates both beauty and danger. The careful attention to detail, ranging from accurate period architecture to weaponry inspired by Song Dynasty innovations, demonstrates a commitment to grounding the fantasy elements in a believable historical context. This interplay between realism and imagination is a hallmark of Zhang Yimou's style, evident in his previous works such as Hero and House of Flying Daggers, where aesthetics, narrative, and choreography converge into a cohesive cinematic language. In examining the thematic depth of the Great Wall, the film explores the concept of collective responsibility in the face of existential threats. The Nameless Order embodies the values of discipline, foresight, and sacrifice, reflecting historical ideals of loyalty and service. Individual characters, such as Commander Lin, William Guerin, and strategist Wang, navigate personal motivations while aligning with the greater mission, highlighting the tension between self-interest and communal duty. These dynamics allow the audience to engage with philosophical questions about the cost of survival, the nature of heroism, and the ethical implications of war. The Tao Ti themselves, as monstrous antagonists, function symbolically as forces of chaos, unbridled nature, and the unknown. Their cyclical attacks every 60 years suggest the inevitability of challenge and the necessity of preparation, linking the narrative to broader human concerns about cycles of history, resilience, and adaptability. By merging mythic storytelling with these philosophical undertones, the film transcends simple action spectacle, inviting reflection on the interplay between human ingenuity, courage, and mortality. The visual storytelling of the Great Wall also merits careful attention. Zhang Yimou, renowned for his use of color, composition, and movement, constructs scenes that are at once aesthetically stunning and narratively functional. Battle sequences are meticulously choreographed, integrating wide shots that emphasize scale and close-ups that capture individual heroism. The Tao Ti's design combines elements of insectoid aggression with mythological menace, ensuring that each confrontation is both terrifying and visually captivating. Cinematographer Zhao Xiaoding employs dynamic camera techniques, often moving fluidly with characters to immerse viewers in the action while maintaining spatial clarity, a challenging feat in large-scale battle sequences. Additionally, the integration of CGI with practical effects demonstrates a sophisticated approach to digital filmmaking, where tangible sets and costumes enhance the realism of digitally enhanced creatures and environments. Music, composed by Ramin Djawadi, further accentuates the narrative's tension and grandeur, using orchestral motifs to evoke emotion, anticipation, and heroism, complementing the visual intensity and reinforcing thematic resonance. The critical reception of the film reflects both admiration and contention. While praise often centered on production values, visual spectacle, and action choreography, critics frequently debated narrative choices, particularly the prominence of a Western lead character in a story deeply rooted in Chinese history and mythology. Some commentators saw Matt Damon's role as a strategic move to attract global audiences, especially in the North American market, while others criticized it for overshadowing local talent and cultural authenticity. Nevertheless, actors like Jing Tian and Andy Lau were recognized for their performances, and the ensemble's efforts in battle sequences received acclaim. From a commercial standpoint, the film's strong box office performance in China highlighted the domestic audience's interest in large-scale fantasy epics that incorporate elements of cultural pride and mythology. Its global performance, though more mixed, underscores the complexities of producing films designed to appeal to multiple markets simultaneously, balancing local relevance with international accessibility. The battle sequences in the Great Wall are central to both the narrative momentum and thematic resonance of the film, serving as arenas where strategy, heroism, and mythology intersect. The first major engagement occurs shortly after Garen and Tovar are introduced to the Nameless Order. The filmmakers use this sequence to establish the Tao Te as not merely obstacles but as entities with intelligence, organization, and evolutionary hierarchy. The initial attack involves smaller Tao Te scouts testing the defensive perimeter of the wall. The Nameless Order responds with disciplined formations, arrows, and traps, showcasing both individual martial skill and the importance of coordination. Zhang Yimou employs wide tracking shots, often from elevated vantage points atop the wall, to convey the scale of both the defense and the threat. The movement of troops, synchronization of defensive devices, and the agile approach of Tao Te create a visual rhythm that is both cinematic and narratively meaningful, highlighting the stakes and the necessity of unity. Garen's first engagement in battle illustrates his transformation from outsider to active participant. Initially relying on improvisation, he quickly learns to adapt to the Order's structured tactics. In one scene, he combines his knowledge of European gunpowder technology with the defensive mechanisms of the wall, orchestrating a controlled detonation that halts a Tao Te advance. This moment not only reinforces his growing integration into the Order but also symbolizes the blending of foreign ingenuity with indigenous wisdom, a recurring thematic element throughout the film. Tovar complements Garen's ingenuity with his resourcefulness and humor, creating dynamic tension that alleviates the intensity of combat while contributing to narrative cohesion. The mid-film battle, often referred to as the wave attack, represents the narrative and visual centerpiece of the Great Wall. Here, the Tao Te attack en masse, revealing both their organized hierarchy and the challenges of defending the wall. Commander Lin may take center stage, coordinating archers, deploying defensive devices, and personally engaging in close-quarters combat. Zhang Yimou's choreography emphasizes verticality, with acrobatic maneuvers across battlements, towers, and siege ladders. The visual composition contrasts the relentless, almost chaotic movement of the Tao Te with the disciplined, calculated response of the Nameless Order, reinforcing the thematic conflict between chaos and order. Camera angles shift fluidly between sweeping aerial perspectives, close-ups on individual warriors, and kinetic sequences following the Tao Te, immersing the audience in the intensity and scale of the engagement. The climactic confrontation with the Tao Te Queen is both physical and symbolic. The Queen's design, a fusion of insect-like exoskeletons and ethereal luminescence, communicates her dual role as a predator and a mythological force. Her attacks are methodical, demonstrating strategic intelligence, while her enormous size and mobility amplify the stakes. The protagonists must coordinate, using both innovative weaponry and disciplined martial skill, to overcome her. Garen, Tovar, and Lin may orchestrate a multi-stage plan, involving lures, traps, and the strategic deployment of gunpowder. Each step of the battle reveals layers of character development, Garen's courage and ingenuity, Lin Mei's leadership and foresight, and Tovar's quick thinking. The sequence culminates in a dramatic detonation that destroys the Queen, providing a resolution to the immediate threat while symbolizing the triumph of collective strategy over raw destructive power. Beyond combat mechanics, the battles serve as a platform for exploring broader themes. The Tao Te are portrayed not simply as antagonists but as forces that challenge human cohesion, strategy, and ethical decision-making. Each wave of attacks tests the character's ability to collaborate, adapt, and prioritize communal welfare over individual survival. The wall itself functions as both setting and symbol, with its architecture guiding the choreography, dictating strategy, and providing a visual metaphor for human resilience and ingenuity. The verticality and scale of the wall reinforce the epic dimension of the narrative, turning each defensive maneuver into both a tactical choice and a cinematic spectacle. Secondary battles, such as skirmishes at the wall's outer defenses and the strategic deployment of siege devices, further reinforced the film's attention to detail and world building. These sequences depict the Nameless Order's methodical preparations, including the construction of traps, allocation of archers, and use of signal systems to coordinate responses. Each engagement is choreographed to emphasize teamwork, foresight, and adaptability, creating a narrative logic that complements the fantasy elements. By interweaving these smaller-scale conflicts with the larger narrative arcs, the film maintains tension while providing opportunities for character interaction, thematic development, and audience immersion. The interplay between practical effects and CGI is particularly evident in battle sequences. Explosions, fire, and physical stunts are augmented with digital effects to enhance scale and complexity. For example, sequences involving dozens of Tao Ti leaping, climbing, or swarming the wall combine live-action performers with digital doubles to create a seamless and visually coherent experience. Zhang Yimou's direction ensures that these elements never overshadow character-driven storytelling, using spectacle to highlight narrative stakes rather than substituting for them. Even within the chaos of battle, the film provides moments of introspection and human drama. Characters confront personal fears, test moral convictions, and make choices that define their ethical and emotional arcs. Garen's repeated confrontations with the Tao Ti Queen, for instance, are punctuated by reflections on duty, loyalty, and the value of human life. Lin Mei demonstrates the burden of leadership, balancing tactical necessity with empathy for her troops. Tovar navigates his own limitations and the expectations of his companions, providing levity while contributing materially to the narrative resolution. These human elements ensure that the battles resonate beyond visual spectacle, grounding the epic conflict in relatable motivations, fears, and aspirations. The film also employs symbolic motifs within battle sequences to reinforce its thematic concerns. Fire, for example, serves both as a literal weapon against the Tao Ti and as a metaphor for human ingenuity and collective resistance. The strategic use of terrain, such as cliffs, towers, and defensive platforms, communicates the interdependence of humans and their environment. Patterns of movement, such as coordinated formations of archers or synchronized leaps across battlements, visually encode the values of discipline, unity, and foresight. Even the appearance and behavior of the Tao Ti, with their hierarchical structure and adaptive strategies, function as narrative mirrors for human ambition, fear, and collaboration. Through these battles, the film also explores cultural themes. The contrast between European mercenaries and the Nameless Order reflects encounters between foreign and indigenous knowledge systems. Garen's initial reliance on improvisation and European tactics contrasts with the Order's disciplined and historically informed strategies, yet both perspectives prove valuable when integrated. The narrative suggests that mutual respect, collaboration, and the blending of diverse skills are essential for overcoming complex challenges. This cultural dimension enriches the action sequences, providing layers of meaning that extend beyond entertainment and into commentary on intercultural understanding and cooperation. In a potential sequel, character development would take center stage, building upon the arcs established in the first film. Returning characters like William Garen, Lin Mei, and Pero Tovar would face new challenges that test not only their combat skills but also their leadership, ethical judgment, and emotional resilience. These arcs offer opportunities to explore personal growth within a larger, mythologically rich narrative, ensuring that heroism is contextualized within both individual and collective stakes. William Garen, having evolved from a self-interested mercenary to a courageous and morally aware warrior, would likely face the pressures of leadership and strategic responsibility. In a sequel, William could mentor younger warriors or serve as a tactical advisor to Lin Mei, guiding operations while confronting the limitations of his knowledge. His journey would explore the tension between experience and tradition, highlighting the challenge of balancing outsider innovation with the established methods of the Nameless Order. This arc emphasizes that heroism is not static, it evolves with responsibility, experience, and moral reflection. Lin Mei would continue to serve as a symbol of institutional and strategic heroism. In sequel concepts, she could ascend to the Supreme Commander role, tasked with guiding both veteran and new soldiers through increasingly complex threats. Her arc would examine the burdens of command, including ethical dilemmas such as allocating limited resources, prioritizing strategic objectives over individual safety, and maintaining morale in the face of overwhelming odds. Lin Mei's development reflects themes of resilience, foresight, and ethical leadership, offering audiences a nuanced exploration of female heroism in a traditionally male-dominated genre. Pero Tovar serves as both emotional anchor and moral compass. While he provides comic relief and levity, his arc could explore loyalty, personal sacrifice, and cross-cultural integration. A sequel might position him as a mediator between Western and Eastern approaches to warfare, highlighting the value of cooperation and empathy. Perrault's journey reinforces the idea that heroism encompasses not only martial prowess but also ethical integrity, interpersonal skill, and adaptability. New characters in a sequel could further enhance mentorship and generational continuity themes. Young recruits or warriors from distant regions might join the Nameless Order, requiring guidance from returning veterans. These dynamics allow for exploration of knowledge transfer, legacy, and institutional memory, emphasizing that the defense of civilization relies on cumulative experience across generations. Character interactions could reflect differing philosophies, strategic approaches, or moral priorities, creating tension and narrative depth while highlighting the importance of cooperation and learning. Moral and ethical dilemmas would become increasingly prominent in an expanded narrative. As the Tao Te evolve and employ new tactics, characters would face decisions that challenge traditional notions of right and wrong. Questions such as whether to sacrifice a few for the survival of many, the ethical use of advanced or experimental weaponry, and the prioritization of cultural preservation over immediate military advantage could serve as central narrative drivers. These dilemmas deepen character arcs and elevate the story beyond spectacle, providing audiences with intellectually engaging content alongside visual excitement. The interplay between personal desire and collective duty would also remain a core theme. William's continued growth would be framed against his loyalty to the Order, Lin May's strategic decisions would balance personal risk with organizational needs, and Perrault's moral choices would reflect the tension between pragmatism and empathy. Secondary characters, such as young recruits or new allies, could illustrate the learning curve of heroism, emphasizing that courage, judgment, and ethical awareness are cultivated over time. Incorporating these narrative arcs ensures that a sequel is not only visually spectacular but emotionally and ethically resonant. The challenges posed by evolved Tao Te, new lands, and expanded world building provide a rich canvas for character-driven storytelling. Each protagonist, returning or new, would contribute to a multi-layered exploration of heroism, sacrifice, and legacy, reflecting the cyclical nature of the Tao Te threat and the enduring human struggle to adapt, survive, and preserve civilization. Finally, the themes of mentorship, legacy, and generational continuity tie directly to the larger mythology of the Great Wall. The wall itself, as a symbol of human perseverance and historical continuity, mirrors the transmission of knowledge, skills, and values from one generation of warriors to the next. By integrating these character arcs into the broader narrative, a sequel could explore how individual growth, collective strategy, and ethical decision-making intersect with mythological and fantastical elements, creating a story that is rich, multidimensional, and emotionally compelling. The characters in The Great Wall are central not only to the plot but also to the film's exploration of psychology, morality, and intercultural dynamics. William Guerin, as portrayed by Matt Damon, embodies a layered character whose evolution reflects both personal and cultural negotiation. Initially, Guerin appears as a pragmatic mercenary, motivated primarily by profit and survival. His early choices are guided by expediency rather than ethical considerations, illustrating a psychology conditioned by European mercenary norms, pragmatism, resourcefulness, and opportunism. Yet, as the narrative unfolds, exposure to the Nameless Order's disciplined ethos, their collective morality, and the existential threat posed by the Tao Te catalyzes a transformation. This evolution is gradual, marked by key turning points: Guerin's first engagement with the Tao Te under the guidance of the Order, his increasing understanding of the wall's symbolic and practical significance, and the climactic confrontation with the Tao Te Queen. Each of these experiences challenges his assumptions, forcing a reconciliation between individual ambition and communal responsibility. Psychologically, Guerin's journey mirrors the classic hero's arc while also addressing the intercultural dimension of learning from, and integrating with, a society whose values and structures are initially foreign to him. Commander Lin May, played by Jing Tian, functions as both a narrative and thematic anchor. Her character exemplifies leadership, strategic acumen, and moral clarity. Psychologically, Lin May demonstrates resilience, decisiveness, and emotional intelligence, traits essential for maintaining cohesion within the Nameless Order during periods of extreme stress. Unlike Garen, whose moral growth is reactive, Lin Mei's character is defined by proactive ethical and strategic decision-making. Her interactions with Garen and Tovar are instructive, conveying both mentorship and cultural transmission. Lin Mei's leadership is expressed through a combination of physical skill, tactical foresight, and emotional presence, illustrating Zhang Yimou's focus on strong female protagonists in martial narratives. The visual design of her costume, armor that balances mobility with ceremonial authority, accented with green and gold motifs, signals both rank and cultural identity. These design choices are psychologically reinforcing, shaping audience perception of her authority, discipline, and courage. Pedro Pascal's Pero Tovar provides a counterbalance to the narrative's tension through humor, ingenuity, and relatability. Psychologically, Tovar represents adaptability and emotional resilience. His character is capable of rapid assessment and creative problem-solving in the face of unfamiliar threats, serving as a bridge between Garen's initial outsider perspective and the Order's disciplined approach. Tovar's humor functions narratively to relieve tension, but it also underscores a cognitive flexibility necessary for survival in high-stakes environments. In terms of visual design, Tovar's attire is less formal than the Order's uniform, signaling his liminality between cultures and his role as a pragmatic, improvisational actor in the story. Secondary characters further enrich the psychological landscape. Willem Dafoe's Sir Ballard represents historical continuity and the long-term integration of foreign perspective into Chinese culture. Psychologically, he embodies wisdom tempered by experience, providing narrative exposition while demonstrating the consequences of prior engagement with Tao Ti threats. Andy Lau's strategist Wang embodies disciplined intelligence and the cerebral dimension of warfare, while Zhang Hanyu's General Xiao communicates the weight of leadership responsibilities and the psychological burdens associated with defending civilization against existential threats. These characters collectively establish a spectrum of psychological profiles, from improvisational heroism to disciplined institutional authority, illustrating how diverse cognitive strategies are necessary for overcoming complex challenges. The cultural symbolism embedded in the Great Wall operates on multiple levels, encompassing narrative, visual design, and mise-en-scene. The wall itself is the central symbol, functioning both literally and metaphorically as a boundary between order and chaos, civilization and destruction, human agency and mythic forces. Architecturally, the wall's verticality, length, and fortified design underscore its symbolic weight, emphasizing both human ingenuity and the monumental nature of collective effort. Costumes reinforce these symbolic meanings. The Nameless Order's green uniforms, for instance, are visually distinctive and culturally resonant, reflecting military hierarchy, historical continuity, and a moral alignment with protective duty. Color coding, armor design, and ceremonial embellishments communicate rank, function, and cultural identity, while simultaneously shaping audience perceptions of authority, discipline, and heroism. The Tao Ti themselves are symbolic as well. Their insectoid, alien design reflects chaos, existential threat, and the unknowable dimensions of nature and myth. The hierarchical organization of the Tao Ti, culminating in the Queen, serves as a narrative metaphor for escalating challenges that require increasing levels of coordination, intelligence, and moral resolve to overcome. Psychologically, the Tao Ti provoke fear, strategic calculation, and adaptive problem-solving, serving as a foil against which human ingenuity and ethical decision-making are tested. Their design merges terror with fascination, ensuring that audience engagement encompasses both cognitive assessment of threat and emotional investment in the outcome. Narrative symbolism extends to the interaction between Western and Chinese perspectives. Garen's European pragmatism contrasted with the Order's disciplined collectivism reflects intercultural exchange, negotiation, and the blending of distinct knowledge systems. The film suggests that survival and heroism require synthesis rather than dominance of one perspective, a psychological and cultural insight that resonates throughout the story. This dynamic is reinforced visually through staging, costume, and choreographed movement, demonstrating how narrative, aesthetic, and symbolic elements are interwoven to communicate layered meanings. The psychological interplay between characters during battle sequences also conveys cultural and moral symbolism. Characters are consistently forced to balance self-preservation with duty, strategic calculation with ethical imperatives. Garen's repeated moral tests, Lin May's disciplined guidance, and Tovar's improvisational problem-solving collectively illustrate the narrative's central thesis: heroism is a combination of cognitive adaptability, ethical choice, and collaborative effort. This psychological framing, embedded within visually spectacular sequences, transforms action into a conduit for moral and cultural exploration, engaging audiences both intellectually and emotionally. The symbolic interplay extends to other visual motifs. Fire represents human ingenuity, courage, and transformative power. The wall represents endurance, resilience, and collective responsibility. The Tao Te embody existential threat, chaos, and the limits of human control. By aligning psychological development with visual symbolism, the film creates a multi-layered narrative where battle sequences, character arcs, and mythological elements converge into a coherent thematic structure. Each character's psychological journey is mirrored in the visual environment, reinforcing meaning and audience engagement. Globally, critical reception reflects varying responses to these psychological and cultural dimensions. Chinese audiences generally appreciated the visual spectacle, martial choreography, and narrative rooted in national mythology. Western critics were more likely to scrutinize the cultural dynamics, narrative coherence, and character development. Discussions often centered on representation, the efficacy of integrating Western leads into Eastern narratives, and the thematic resonance of collectivism versus individualism. Academic analyses have examined the Great Wall as a case study in cross-cultural filmmaking, highlighting its contributions to global cinema while critiquing its narrative compromises and cultural positioning. These analyses reinforce the significance of psychological and cultural design in shaping audience reception and understanding. The marketing and promotional strategies for the Great Wall played a crucial role in generating international awareness and engagement. Trailers, teasers, and promotional materials highlighted the film's visual spectacle, mythological creatures, and epic battle sequences, positioning it as a high-stakes, globally appealing fantasy action film. Early trailers emphasized both the scale of the Great Wall and the terrifying nature of the Tao Te, interspersed with character-driven moments to convey stakes and emotional depth. These trailers were carefully crafted to balance Western and Eastern audiences, featuring Matt Damon prominently for global recognition while showcasing Jing Tian and Andy Lau to emphasize Chinese star power and cultural resonance. Marketing campaigns included international press tours, interviews with the cast and director Zhang Yimou, and strategically timed release dates, December 16, 2016, in China and February 17, 2017, in the US, to maximize both domestic and international box office potential. Social media campaigns leveraged fan speculation, behind-the-scenes content, and production diaries, allowing audiences to feel intimately connected with the filmmaking process. The blend of traditional media and digital engagement underscored the film's ambition to bridge global markets while cultivating dedicated fan communities. Fan engagement went beyond passive consumption. The film inspired extensive fan art, speculative trailers, and story expansions, particularly around potential sequels. Enthusiasts explored alternate storylines, introduced evolved Tao Te variants, and imagined extended world-building scenarios, reflecting both the cultural impact and the narrative richness of the universe. Online communities discussed strategic possibilities, character development, and thematic interpretation, creating a participatory culture around the film. This phenomenon highlights how modern audiences increasingly engage with cinematic universes not merely as spectators but as co-creators of content, expanding the narrative universe through imagination and collaborative discussion. Merchandising efforts, though less extensive than blockbuster franchises like Star Wars or the Marvel Cinematic Universe, included action figures, replica weapons, clothing, and art books. These products allowed fans to engage tangibly with the film's universe, reinforcing attachment to characters, factions, and the mythical creatures. In particular, collectible figurines of Tao Te variants, the Queen Tao Te, and Nameless Order troops became sought-after items among enthusiasts, reflecting the visual and imaginative appeal of the film's design. Art books and behind-the-scenes guides offered insight into production design, costume creation, CGI development, and stunt choreography, catering to both casual fans and aspiring filmmakers or designers. The film's global fandom reflects a significant cross-cultural resonance. In China, audiences connected with the wall as a cultural symbol, while in Western countries, viewers were drawn to the spectacle, action sequences, and international cast. Fan engagement illustrates a shared enthusiasm for imaginative world-building and epic storytelling, transcending cultural boundaries. Speculative discussions of sequels, imagined expansions of Tao Te mythology, and reinterpretations of character arcs demonstrate the durability of the film's narrative impact, ensuring that its universe continues to inspire creative exploration. From a cinematic perspective, the potential for the Great Wall 2 or expanded narratives remains immense. With evolved Tao Te, expanded territories, and deeper exploration of character, mythology, and ethics, the story universe offers opportunities for multidimensional storytelling. Returning characters, particularly William Guerin, Lin Mei, and Pero Tovar, provide continuity, while new recruits, human factions, and mystical elements allow for thematic and visual expansion. The combination of heroism, sacrifice, cultural collaboration, and cyclical struggle ensures that a sequel could satisfy both spectacle-driven and narrative-driven audiences. The visual, thematic, and narrative elements of the Great Wall, from set design and cinematography to mythology, symbolism, and cross-cultural storytelling, combine to create a compelling and enduring cinematic universe. Its production demonstrates the potential of East-West collaboration, merging Hollywood-style spectacle with Chinese cultural heritage, martial traditions, and historical symbolism. Fan engagement, speculative narratives, and merchandising underscore the global impact of the film, reflecting both commercial and cultural significance. In conclusion, The Great Wall represents a landmark in international cinema, a visually stunning, mythologically rich, and culturally resonant epic. Its narrative, while criticized by some for structural or character-related weaknesses, provides fertile ground for expanded storytelling, speculative sequels, and fan-driven creative engagement. The universe established by Zhang Yimou, Legendary Pictures, and the international cast combines historical inspiration, imaginative fantasy, and epic spectacle, offering audiences a richly layered cinematic experience. Potential sequels, with evolved Tao Te, new human factions, and expanded world-building, promise to deepen the mythology, explore complex ethical dilemmas, and elevate both narrative and visual storytelling to unprecedented heights. Ultimately, The Great Wall exemplifies the power of imagination, collaboration, and cultural storytelling, serving as both an entertainment spectacle and a canvas for fan-driven creativity. Its legacy lies not only in its box office or visual achievements but also in its ability to inspire global audiences, generate discourse on cultural exchange, and open possibilities for a fully realized, epic cinematic universe that continues to evolve through imagination, speculation, and artistic engagement. Transitioning to the speculative sequel, The Great Wall 2, one can imagine the narrative expanding in multiple directions to enhance complexity and depth. The emergence of new Tao Te variants could introduce not only physical threats but also psychological challenges, forcing characters to confront fears, doubts, and ethical dilemmas. Storylines might explore the consequences of human intervention in natural cycles, the corruption or decay within the Nameless Order, and the strategic evolution necessary to combat increasingly intelligent adversaries. The sequel could also delve into the origins of the Tao Te, perhaps connecting them to ancient civilizations, mystical energies, or cosmic phenomena, expanding the narrative scope from localized defense to a global existential challenge. By maintaining continuity with the first film while exploring new narrative territories, the sequel could offer both satisfying resolutions for returning characters and opportunities for introducing new figures whose motivations and abilities diversify the story. From a production perspective, The Great Wall 2 would likely leverage advancements in visual effects, motion capture, and large-scale set construction to achieve even more spectacular sequences. Rumors suggest the potential involvement of martial arts experts like Donnie Yen, which could shift the choreography toward more stylized, intricate combat sequences, integrating human skill and creature design in innovative ways. The blending of practical stunts with CGI would remain crucial to maintaining a sense of realism, particularly in depicting large-scale battles on the wall itself and the dynamic movement of fantastical creatures. The sequel's visual palette could evolve as well, employing varied environments, mountain ranges, subterranean tunnels, and mystical landscapes, to create narrative tension and maintain viewer engagement. These creative decisions would likely reflect a strategic approach to cinematic storytelling, balancing spectacle, character development, and thematic resonance. Culturally, the sequel represents an opportunity to deepen engagement with Chinese mythology and history while continuing cross-cultural dialogue through cinema. By expanding the Tao Te mythology, introducing new legends, and exploring historical parallels, the narrative could reinforce the significance of storytelling in preserving cultural memory. At the same time, the inclusion of international characters and actors allows for an exploration of intercultural collaboration, conflict resolution, and shared human experiences. The thematic exploration of sacrifice, innovation, and resilience remains central, reinforcing universal values while rooted in specific historical and cultural contexts. Audience reception will likely hinge on how effectively these themes are integrated with action and spectacle, as well as the degree to which the sequel balances entertainment with thoughtful storytelling. Imagining the sequel's opening sequence, one can see it immediately establishing heightened stakes and new threats. The film could begin with a panoramic view of the Great Wall at dawn, its towers stretching across mist-covered mountains, disrupted by ominous signs hinting at the Tao Te's return. Character reintroduction and development would play a pivotal role. William Guerin could be portrayed as reflective, coping with trauma, while Commander Lin emerges as an even more formidable leader. Internal conflicts within the Nameless Order might challenge cohesion, emphasizing themes of loyalty, ethics, and strategy. Battle sequences could escalate in scale, with the Tao Te employing coordinated strategies that force the Order to innovate. Multi-perspective storytelling would allow audiences to experience the scope and intensity of conflict, while practical effects and CGI blend to create immersive sequences. The sequel could explore hidden underground worlds, ancient civilizations, and mystical artifacts, adding layers of intrigue and visual creativity. Romantic and interpersonal dynamics could deepen the narrative, with partnerships, mentor-student relationships, and alliances providing emotional stakes. Political and strategic subplots could expand the world building, showing neighboring regions responding to the Tao Te threat, reinforcing themes of cooperation and diplomacy. Production-wise, large-scale sets, advanced CGI, motion capture, sound design, and musical scoring would converge to enhance realism and spectacle. Costume and armor design would reflect character development and cultural significance. As the story reaches its climax, evolved Tao Te would mount an unprecedented assault on the wall, testing all characters' abilities, intelligence, and courage. Multi-perspective sequences would capture both the grandeur and human stakes of conflict. The final confrontation with the Tao Te Queen or evolved leader would combine physical, strategic, and symbolic challenges. William Guerin might employ ingenuity and experience to counter the Tao Te, while Commander Lin and strategist Wang coordinate large-scale defenses, combining human skill, strategy, and courage. Symbolic motifs, such as the resilience of the wall, the necessity of sacrifice, and the triumph of ingenuity over chaos, could reinforce the narrative's thematic resonance. Post-climactic resolution would address survival, character growth, and the consequences of conflict, providing both closure and opportunities for future expansion. Characters who survive might reflect on the cost of victory, the lessons learned, and the continued duty to protect humanity from cyclical threats. Relationships forged through adversity could solidify, demonstrating themes of trust, loyalty, and intercultural collaboration. Subplots involving diplomacy, cultural exchange, and technological innovation could also find resolution, highlighting the broader impact of the Order's actions on the world beyond the wall. Global reception could vary, with domestic audiences responding to cultural resonance and international audiences engaging with spectacle and fantasy. Critically, the sequel could face scrutiny over narrative pacing or complexity, but careful integration of action, mythology, and character depth would enhance appeal. Thematically, the sequel emphasizes cycles of struggle, human resilience, heroism, and the balance between civilization and uncontrollable forces. Advanced production techniques, set design, visual effects, sound, music, and cinematography, would create immersive experiences, supporting narrative and emotional impact. The speculative vision of the Great Wall 2 illustrates both the creative potential and practical challenges of international filmmaking. Balancing historical authenticity, mythological invention, cross-cultural appeal, and global market considerations requires careful planning, cultural sensitivity, and artistic vision. The sequel's narrative, whether realized or hypothetical, underscores the enduring fascination with epic storytelling, human courage, and the interplay between civilization and chaos. The continued exploration of the Wall, the Tao Te, and the Nameless Order provides a rich framework for cinematic spectacle, thematic depth, and audience engagement across borders. In conclusion, The Great Wall and its rumored sequel present a comprehensive cinematic vision, blending visual grandeur, narrative complexity, character development, and thematic resonance. From the defense against the Tao Te in the original film to the expanded mythology, intensified threats, and evolving character arcs in the sequel, the story offers both entertainment and philosophical reflection. Production, technical artistry, global strategy, and cultural significance converge to create a vision of epic filmmaking that resonates internationally. Whether or not The Great Wall 2 ultimately materializes, the imaginative world, enduring themes, and cinematic ambition established by the original film ensure that the saga of The Great Wall remains a compelling subject for storytelling, analysis, and audience engagement for years to come.